Hey there, here's a quick note before we begin. You can support the podcast by downloading, sharing, or checking with my favorite hiking gear at justhike.com. Let's hit the trail. Today I'm excited to introduce someone who truly lives life on her own terms. Kim Selvage is a vanlifer, thru-hiker, artist, photographer, and international traveler. She follows where the wind takes her, exploring new landscapes, capturing beauty through her art and photography, and experiencing the world in an adventurous spirit. I first connected with Kim through our mutual friend and fellow podcaster Jason Lomack from the Trailblazin' Texas podcast. And today I'm thrilled to share her story and adventures with you. First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to chat with me. I think it's great that our mutual friend and acquaintance Jason hooked us up. I think that's
Yes.
awesome.
Do you know how I
And
met him?
how did you meet Jason?
I was doing the Lone Star Trail.
Okay.
Didn't know him. I'm on it and my filter would not work.
Oh,
So I put
no.
a plea out on Facebook saying, "Hey, on the Lone Star Trail, my filter's not working. I need water."
Yeah.
And he wrote me privately. I was going to do the hike. I wasn't able to do it. I had to cancel it, but my waters are still in place. So he sent me these little GPS coordinates. So I was able to grab his gallons of water on my little hike and within 5 minutes. I had no problem with water. Like he
Oh,
saved
that's
me.
so good.
And
That's
then
so
we stayed in
awesome.
touch.
That's so great. I love it. The thing about the Lone Star Hiking Trail, there's not a lot of great places to filter water, and so it is better to cache.
And it was flooding when I was there.
Oh goodness. Well,
It
then
was
there's
raining.
water everywhere.
Yeah, it was flash flooding. And so
Right.
it was just all silt, and that's a whole nother story. But
Yeah.
that is the scariest hike I've ever done just because of when I did it. It's
Really.
not scary. Oh my, yes, I like swam across the San Jacinto. Like it was unbelievable. Like it was amazing. So anyway, and I've done a lot of
Memories.
hikes. Who would have thought the Texas hike would have been the scary one?
Yeah, no kidding. And speaking of the San Jacinto, it is a tough river to cross because you never know about the depth. You don't know what's under the water. We
Correct.
did recently got approval finally to start the process to get the bridge. We've had approval for I think 10 years to get this
Okay.
bridge, but it just wasn't in play yet, if that makes sense.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
That's the best news I've heard because I did not realize how deep it was. When I stepped, I was in the water. So my backpack, everything, and I had one of two choices, but the way I fell in, it was actually better for me to just keep going across the stream. And so I did, but again, it was flash flooding. And so it was a moment of when I got to the other side, I have a video. I'm like so thankful that I'm on the other side because it was not supposed to be so deep. I
Right.
was expecting, I just stepped and it was so flash flooding that evidently I showed a photo, I think, to Jason, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, it was completely to the top." So if you've
Yeah,
ever
and the
done it, you
banks
know.
yeah, the banks are very steep in that
Yes.
area, and if you're not aware and if you're
Yeah.
not familiar, you don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to
I'm
be
glad you're
repeated.
okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that was quite crazy. So
Yes, definitely. Tell me a little bit about you and what you're doing with your daily life right now. Introduce yourself. Just tell me about you a little bit, and then we'll get into some of your hikes that you like to do.
okay. So hello, my name's Kim, and my
Hi,
trail
Kim.
name's Muon, and I received that trail name in 2020 when I did the Appalachian Trail. And pretty much, long story short, is I'm a solo hiker who lives in a van who loves to travel internationally. When I started, it was just to be on the Appalachian Trail, and that was it just happened to be 2020. And then I tried to go back to work, but once you have an experience like that, it just work didn't seem as important as it was before I did that hike. Because when you're off work for 5 months in the woods, carrying everything you own on your back, it just changes your mindset. And so I did try to work for about a year. And after a year, I bought a van, quit, and I set off in 21 in my van. It's a Ford Transit Connect. So it's this tiny little baby van. It's not one you can stand up in. And the idea was it's just for sleeping and traveling and to do it as efficiently as possible. And if I was going to do it for 1 year. And in that 1 year, because the world was still a little uptight, so I figured for 1 year I could travel national parks and do all the high points in the US. And then after a year, reset. I never stopped. Like, I then learned you meet people along the way, and people would invite me. A friend that I met on my first week in van life, she was in Thailand and she wrote me saying, "Hey, I'm in Thailand. Do you want to come?" And I'm like, "Yes." At the end of my first year in the van, I went to Thailand, and I was only there for a few weeks, and we went to Laos and we went to Vietnam, and we just had this amazing trip. And I came back and I'm like, "Oh boy, that costs less than living in the van."
Oh boy.
So that just messed my mind up. So what I did is from that point on, if someone invited me to another country, like a friend of mine, she was in Bali, she's like, "Kim, I'm here. Come see me." Okay. So the way I would describe where I am right now is I laugh and I just say, I go with the flow. Wherever the wind blows me, that's where I go. And what that means is in my professional life, I was a project manager. I scheduled everything, I planned everything, I was the most organized, and I wasn't organized just for me, I was organized for other people and projects and resources. I let that all go. Okay. I stepped away from that mindset. And I'll be honest, the Appalachian Trail helped me with that mindset because there are people who try to plan everything on the trail, who they're going to hike with, what they're going to carry, what they're going to eat, what they're going to do. But if you start the Appalachian, and I was one of those people, you start it, and then the whole world falls into a pandemic. Every single thing you planned just went out the window.
It's all different.
It's all different. There was nothing. And so I had to learn to go with the flow. It turned out sometimes they call it trail magic when something just serendipitous happens. I think it's just letting go and letting this flow happen. And so I carried that with me in van life. So when I drive, I always blame my van. I'll be driving. If I miss a turn, I go, "Why did I miss that turn?" And sure enough, I'll find something really cool. So I don't typically make reservations ahead of time unless I'm going on a cruise or I'm doing a very big trip coming up soon to Antarctica. Yes, you got to plan some things, right?
Yes.
But I don't have, I have getting to Australia, and I have about a month gap before Antarctica, and I have nothing booked yet. And this is in a month, like less than a month. So
And
that
that's
would scare
okay,
me.
right?
It's okay.
There's lots of places out there that take last minute people. There's almost always something that you're able to get, unless, of course, you're right beside Yellowstone National Park in July and you have 5 people that you're trying to find a hotel room for. That doesn't
Okay.
work. If I had a van, that would have been
Yes.
better.
Well, you just made the big difference. One person
Yes,
versus five.
exactly.
That's the difference. So I need to remember that because the flexibility I have is based on the fact that a really good story is I've shown up places where there's one spot available, be it
Uh-huh.
High, the beautiful blue waterfalls,
Yes.
be it the Grand Canyon. I actually did that one where I showed up and I was going to get on the waiting list, and I figured in 2 to 3 days they'll get me in and I can go down and do my hike. The lady looked at me. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. She's like, "Can you be ready by 9?" Yes, I can. I went that day. So
Right.
the solo thing is actually that's probably one of the benefits is you have so much flexibility and you can slip in where there's one spot at a concert, where there's one place on a raft, when there's one place in a hostel. So yes,
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned that, honestly.
Yes. Versus trying to get a whole group in, which is
Very
very,
challenging.
very challenging to do. Yeah. Same
Wow.
with,
Yes,
yep. Even flying standby, one person can get on
absolutely.
versus, yeah.
Okay, so that's something I do recently because it's just me solo. So one of the things that I do is, and I've done this for the last year, I go to the airport, the flight I'm supposed to be on, they need volunteers. I have had now 2 years worth of free flights because of volunteering. Because
Oh,
they're usually
really?
pretty generous nowadays. But if I had someone else with me, then you've got to, will they be willing to delay their vacation by if they're
Rest.
working a day, when you only have, let's say, 4 or 5 days off, a day is horrific. But when you don't have anything, any time constraints, any commitments, then you have that flexibility. So
Cool.
that's a good point.
Yeah. I'm very envious.
It looks like you had a good adventure recently. So,
We did have a good adventure recently. We actually, my husband and I, we drove from British Columbia and Alberta, Canada, and then we came all the way down the western coast, Oregon, California, all the way back to all the way back to Texas. But then even more recent than that, there was a group of 8 of us, 7, and we drove up to the San Juan Mountains and did the
yes,
hut to hut hike in the San Juan Mountains, which was awesome. And the reason I did it that way is because so let's say, for example, if you only book 1 or 2 spots in the huts, then you have the opportunity to meet other people. And the other people may not be the people that you want to meet. But then you're with them on all 4 huts, right?
yeah,
And so I chose with this one is, okay, I want to do this hut to hut thing, but I want to be in control of who's in my hut with me. And so therefore I just shot it around to a bunch of friends that I had hiked with in the past and said, "Hey, who wants to go on this hut to hut?" I had a few people say, "Yep, I'm in." And so that's what we did. We
I
did the
love
hut
that.
to, yeah, it was a good adventure, lots of fun. We drove up. My husband was the chauffeur and he was the photographer and he's the caboose
Oh my
on the
gosh.
trail. And then the rest of us, we were all women aged, I think we're 50 to 68.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a great time. Beautiful hike. The San Juan Mountains are incredible. And the
Especially this time
huts,
of the year.
yes, this time of the year, the trees with the aspens were just starting to turn color.
Oh my
Just starting.
gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
So
was your
very,
elevation roughly? Were you
we
sitting?
started at 10,000 feet.
See? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And we varied from 10,000 feet to 9,000 feet and then 11,000 feet. And then the town of Ouray is at
Oh yeah.
7,500. So it
Yeah,
was a
no.
great, yeah, great hike. And
That is
we all come from flatland. And so we're in Houston. We're at maybe 200 feet.
yes.
Yeah. So we stopped in Ouray and we stayed there for 2 nights to help acclimate a little bit before we headed into the trailhead. So it was good.
Wow, that's
Yeah. It
fantastic.
was a great adventure. Really
Yeah,
good.
I love
Yeah.
it.
So tell me about maybe some of your adventures that you've done this year.
Okay, this year was not planned. Nothing that I did this year was on the books if you had asked me a year ago today. So where are we?
Okay.
Yeah, even October and November.
So tell me about Kilimanjaro and what made you go there.
So since you've experienced it, you're going to know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So the new year, we brought in the new year in the Serengeti. So we did a safari before hiking,
Okay.
and it was great. It was a private group. A friend invited me. There were 5 of us, and so we were called the Big Five. And so it was amazing. I think we took 8 or 9 days to get to the top. The weather was perfect. It did snow the final day, the summit day, but it was just fantastic. But that was a new experience for me, hiking with a group.
Okay.
Okay. So I started my year off hiking with a group. And there are some things that are actually easier for me solo versus a group, but we sang our whole way to the top. So I was in heaven, like singing. I loved all the people from Africa, Tanzania. It was just, I was in my element. I loved it. Okay. So I come back to the US. I do a few things around the US, but basically, I almost immediately fly to, and I booked it like 3 days before I went. I flew to Costa Rica, another group hike. So I did because it's called the Camino de Costa Rica, and you have to go with a local guide. You can do some of it by yourself, but I decided just to take it easy and I just paid for a tour. That's that one spot thing, being solo. I was
Right.
able to slip in because people were like, "How
Nice.
did you do it?" And I'm like, because they had planned for a year to do this. And I literally, it was less than a week. So
Right.
I flew, I walked across Costa Rica. Don't remember how many kilometers, but it took us about 10 days, maybe. It wasn't bad. Gets from one coast to the next. And then I stayed there and did solo traveling. I went to a friend's retreat. It's called Zen Commando. And we went through wellness. I was the only person, it was a private class. It was a friend of mine. And then I was supposed to fly back to the US, but I loved it so much and I wasn't done with Costa Rica. So I can't, I pushed my flight out by a week. And then I rented a car and I drove all over Costa Rica for 1 week. And I
Nice.
did everything. It was amazing. Like it was, they gave me a really good car that could handle the dirt roads and the rough roads in Costa Rica. Anyway, so I went south first and then I went all the way north and then worked my way in a spiral. And a week later, I was, and again, nothing was planned, right? Obviously, because I just looked it. Came back to the US and then I actually went off on a cruise solo, in which a lot of people, that right there freaks people out that you would go on a cruise solo. So I flew to Barcelona and hopped on a cruise and made amazing friends because it's a transatlantic cruise where you end up in Florida.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I loved it so much. Now I got in trouble because I was supposed to get off the boat and then do my taxes. So I had enough time. I loved it so much. I waited until 4 p.m. because the ship was full and they were going to go through Panama. So I hopped off the ship and I waited until 4 p.m. and I said, "Hey, any cancellations?" Yes, there were some cancellations. I was able to get on the cruise and then I went through Panama Canal all the way up to Washington State, but I filed an extension for my taxes because I didn't pay my taxes. And so, you know, I just said, "Okay, I'll just do it when I get done with Washington." So I got up to Washington. It was another 2 weeks ish. And so then I had to work on my taxes and be an adult for a few minutes. So what would that be? March, April. Oh, so then this is in Utah. I did a llama trek.
Oh,
I wanted to stay on the cruise and go to Alaska, but I had already booked, and this is why you don't want to book things sometimes. But this was something I'd wanted to do for a long time. It's a llama trek in Utah. And so you have a llama. I didn't know what I was signing up for, but you have a llama. There was like 4 people total, counting the guide, and then there were 7 llamas. But the llamas have to carry a lot of food for themselves. So a lot of the stuff they were carrying was for them.
yeah.
But
And then
we,
you
yes,
probably have an allowance of how much weight you can bring.
yes,
Yeah.
which I had no problem. I even let someone put their stuff in my stuff because I don't bring much. It was wonderful. Like because what you do is we didn't hike many miles, but we would set up camp and then you can hike and do all the stuff from that spot, then go to a new location, hike from that spot. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And that was about 11 days.
Wow. Now, did you ride a llama?
No, no,
No.
you
So how
walk
did
with
you
it like a
get?
puppy dog.
Oh, okay.
You carry your pack and whatever they're not carrying.
Sure.
One person, I think, had a pretty light load. Another person carried a lot of things. It just depends. But obviously, it was a gourmet trip. So the guy that was doing the planning and the guide, he like cooked these master meals every day. I was feeling like I was glamping because it was fancy. But then just to get to spend time with llamas, like that was really a cool thing for me. There were arrowheads everywhere. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
really?
It was just unbelievable. So I
Wow.
took photos. It was ridiculous. I look at
What
the photos
about
now.
tell me about your accommodations. What were they like? Were
My
you in
tent.
your own
Yes,
tent or
my
yeah?
tent. My tent.
Oh, okay.
I think you could rent a tent from them, but I like my tent. It was a little windy. It was definitely sandy. Water, everywhere we picked was based on water. And that's why
Sure.
April is kind of like the latest you want to go because it starts getting too hot. We
Right.
lucked out. It had rained right before we went, so we didn't have rain on us, but all the little water holes were filled, which was great for the llamas as well as for us.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
it was truly, I've been wanting to, I want, my first trip was planned in 2020 and then COVID happened. And so I've been waiting since then. So it was really nice to be able to actually do something that was on my to-do list for a while. So yeah, that was a good thing.
Tell me about traveling solo. Now, you
Okay.
mentioned going on a cruise
Yes.
is scary for people to go solo. I would think good doing the Lone Star hiking trail solo would be a
Yes.
scary thing for some people. Tell me
It's
about that.
okay. So I started my first hike that I did solo was the Appalachian Trail. You meet people along the way. Especially that trail, you're going to know people because you don't hike necessarily with them, but you leapfrog. Like they might go to town and spend a day. If you're a slow hiker, then you'll see them again when they get back on trail, they'll pass you or vice versa. So it has a weird flow where you see people. A shorter hike like the Lone Star Trail, that's 90 something miles. I didn't see anyone. But of course, remember it was flash flooding and only a crazy person But what happened is, on that one, that was a couple of years ago, I came back from a cruise, actually. I came back from a cruise by myself. It was my first solo cruise. And I had a week before a friend was coming to town, and I was in Texas and I was going to pick him up. So I looked at the map and I'm like, oh, that's a 5-day hike. Let's do it. And so that's how it came about. I didn't look at the weather. I should have. I just was like, okay, we can make this work. And so a friend of mine was able to drop me off at one part, the beginning, and I left my van at the end.
Perfect.
Yes. And so I
Yeah.
just went back to my van. That's my preference. So do I get afraid? I am going to answer this the best that I can. I'm not a risk taker. I do everything I can to be safe. What can I do to be safe? Now, I will tell you, because I think we can specifically talk about the Lone Star Trail. There were two trailheads that kind of had me concerned. There were some things going on at that trailhead that I didn't want to be anything a part of. They were parked, don't know what they were doing in their car, none of my business. But I would much prefer be hiking in the woods and see no one than to be hiking and then to cross the road. There's a lot of road crossings and a lot of public trailheads.
Yeah.
Those change my safety because I can speak to when you go hiking solo, you have to be willing to self rescue. What does that mean?
Yes.
I have people with me. If one of us gets hurt, it's funny. If you have three people, that's the best number because if the person gets hurt, then you've got someone to stay with them and someone to go for help.
Yes.
Okay. Two, it's a unique situation. It's still good because you've got someone who can either help you if you're not able to help yourself, or they can go get help. If you're solo and you break a toe, which I've done, what do? You keep walking. You sprain your ankle. You fall and hit your head. Whatever the case may be, you have to typically, when that happens to me, because it's happened more than once, you sit, you assess your body, make sure everything is functioning. Don't just jump up. I swear that's when people get hurt, is they react. No, you fell for a reason. You were rushing, you weren't eating enough, you were just being careless, distracted. There's reasons you get hurt. They don't I am a firm believer, and this is not just hiking, but in life, when you have an accident, if you really look at the accident, a car accident, it takes more than one thing to go wrong. So,
Agreed.
and so that's the same with hiking. And so I play a little game with myself, but even if I trip, I take that as okay, why did you trip? You should not have tripped. What were you doing? Were you on your phone? Were you rushing? That's what usually gets me is when I have to go faster. Maybe tired, but so for safety wise, you are responsible for you. That is a lot. Some people hike and they drink and they maybe don't eat right. I don't do that because that's part of my safety. As a female, you don't want to drink. You don't want to do any
No.
kind of substance. If anything, I even want to drink water. Why? Because I sleep better at night. If someone drinks something that's sugary or caffeinated or whatever, you may not get a good night's sleep. That's a safety thing because the next morning you got to be in best form. So if you find that you're not sleeping, look and why are you not sleeping? But it's
And
a safety.
I love what you say. I love that you say all that because it's about self-preservation, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you're right about why did I trip on the trail? I tripped because I was either on my phone or I was looking up at the sky and I wasn't looking at the routes. If you're enjoying this episode of Just Hike, here's how you can help support the show. First, be sure to follow, download, and share this episode. It helps more adventurers like you and me discover the podcast and helps keep this journey going strong. And if you're gearing up for your next hike or just curious about my favorite outdoor gear, be sure to check out my Amazon affiliate page. I've listed all the items I actually use, from hiking shoes to trail snacks. You'll find them at justhike.com. Every purchase through the link helps support the podcast at no extra cost to you. Thanks again for being here with me on the trail. Let's go back to our show. And
Yes.
so that tripped and made me fall, and now I'm injured. Now what am I going to do? And you really have to dial in, I think, and just be very self-aware
Yes.
of yourself and how your body reacts to different things. Like you said, the sugar, the caffeine, alcohol, all of those things play a big factor in it.
They do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you heard the little thing about bear versus man. I don't know,
No,
maybe
tell me about that.
okay. I didn't know there was a thing, but I do TikToks and I did a TikTok and I was just doing something and then all people were saying, "Did you choose a bear versus a man?" And what it is, if a female saw someone in the woods, what would they rather see? A bear or a man? And
Huh.
almost all the women would say a bear.
Right.
And some women will say they carry bear spray not for a bear, but for a man.
Right.
I'm not that way. The hikes that I do, the people that I see, they're all amazing. Have I run into some sketchy people? Yes. But you have different levels of people you don't want to run to on a trail. Most of them want to be invisible. I truly, to my core, believe the majority of the bad people that go on a trail, they either already knew the person, like there was
Uh-huh.
already something going on.
Right.
Yes, you're going to still run into someone who maybe is not mentally stable. There's something going on in their life. And I've met a few. But for the most part, if you treat them with respect, they're fine. In other words, I was walking with my mom one time. She's since passed, but I was walking with my mom in California and she had this big purse and she was like clutching it. I'm like, Mom, stop. I love you, but stop. Whatever you think you have in your purse, you're making it very valuable. It's the same thing in the woods. And I actually laugh because there's a lot of videos out there about stranger danger and people with these women who say guys don't understand. They shouldn't say hi to a female on the trail and guys shouldn't ask you if you're hiking solo. And I'm just going to let you know, I don't agree with that. They are not coming at it from fear. The guys are walking. I feel bad for them because they don't know what to do in the woods when they see a female. So I always initiate. I always say, "Hey, how you doing? How's it going?" Why? Two reasons. I don't want them to feel like they have to behave a certain way because some of them are honestly afraid of being intimidating to someone else on the trail, especially female, because there's a lot of videos out there about women being afraid to hike solo on a
Right.
trail and then running into someone. I have a different take. I want to meet every single person on the trail because if something does happen to me as a solo hiker, I want to be remembered. I want them to go, "Oh, yeah, we saw her reach the summit. Oh, yeah, we saw her back at that shelter." I want to be, I signed the logbooks. Some people say don't do that because you're telling someone where you were when you were there. Again, I
I think
can't.
that's only if you have a stalker. Yeah.
And
And
the way
that's yeah.
yes, I agree. I think we're on the same page on this. Am I looking for trouble? No. Am I going to go partying at a shelter with a whole bunch of strangers that I don't know and get drunk? No.
No.
Yeah, because those things cause problems. When people lose their inhibitions, then some things might happen. But when you're hiking on a trail, you're acute alert. So is the person coming towards you. We're in our best state. We're, especially if it's a solo guy hiking, I know he's as happy as can be. That dude, he wants to say hi and he wants to keep on walking. He's not looking for love out there. He's not looking to hurt someone. He just wants to enjoy the woods just like I do. Trailheads, different story. Every time I come to a trailhead, I know, even if I don't know the trail, I know 1 mile from a trailhead. You can tell. The trail is usually in better shape as
Right.
far as wear and tear and a path.
Yes, because most people, they're gonna do a mile out and a mile back. You
Yep.
can always tell when you're getting close to a trailhead. Absolutely.
Usually the trail maintenance is better there
Yes.
because again, if they have heavy, if there's a blowdown, it's easier for them to clear a blowdown 1 mile. And then
Right.
of course, what you were probably expecting me to say, there's more trash.
Yes, there's that
So
too.
I always know, like doggy bags or whatever, I always know when I'm about a mile from a trailhead. I go into a different mode. I never listen to music when I'm hiking. I never like get plugged in. That's just not something I do. But I definitely will start looking around. If for some reason I'm in an area that I've been in a few places where they maybe alerted you to the fact that there might be someone who's giving off some weird vibes, because there's an incredible thing with social media. You can know some things before you get there. There could be a nuisance bear, there could be a rabid skunk, whatever the case may be. You have that information if you want it. So
Right.
if I'm in a situation where I think my safety is of concern, I honestly, if I'm a solo hiker, I hike with people. I see people and I'm like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I just walk with them. Because again, if it's at trailhead, you're going to have more people.
Yes.
I just, even if I don't talk to them, I'm in a space where it looks like I might be with them. I've only
Uh-huh.
done that, but, and it's playing games in my head, but it's what made me feel confident where I won't come across as a victim. That is important to me. That goes back to my story about my mom. I know you can behave in a way which I'm not saying anyone's fault if they get attacked, but you can make all the wrong choices. And they even say if a kid gets kidnapped and they've been taught to be afraid of strangers, even a police officer is a stranger. And so here's a kid who could get help from a police officer, but they've been taught uniformly to be afraid of everyone. I know that's an extreme, but I'm trying to get a point across, and that is I don't want to go in. I am not going to go into the woods with the concept of I'm going to get bit by a snake, attacked by a bear, and I have to run from every person I see that's a human.
Right.
Do it.
Yeah.
That so I do the opposite. I'm like, okay, bring me a bear. I want to see a bear. Show me a snake. I want to. They say lean into your fear. I don't have fear of those things, but I laugh when I see people and they're like, "Oh, I hope we don't see a snake." And I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "It's nature. That's why we're out here." And they're like, "Because it's going to attack me." I'm like,
Why is it's not going to attack you?
"Not going to attack you."
Yeah.
I learned the most amazing thing. I started working on this thought myself, but then I went to a national park and they solidified it with me. And then I happened to talk to someone who's doing the research on this. Do you know when we hear about all those animal attacks that people are so afraid of, from mountain lions to bears to even a javelina to a snake? All of them, almost no, almost all of them, they never mention this, but if you do a little research, they're doing a research on it right now. Almost all of them, people had a dog with them.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And what started this was I was in the Saguaro National Park and the guy was talking about javelinas are fine with humans. But if you have a dog with you, they go into beast mode because they see it as like a coyote.
Another predator. Yeah.
Yes. And so that made me start thinking. And so again, yes, you step on a rattlesnake, or you, as we just heard in some news in the Tennessee or somewhere, someone picked up a rattlesnake and they got bit.
Ah,
Okay.
big surprise.
You
Don't
know,
pick up the rattlesnakes.
don't touch wild, and I'm very passionate. I don't feed wildlife. I don't touch wildlife. I try to have, I have this word every now and then I'll have a wildlife encounter versus a wildlife sighting. I try to have only sightings. Sightings would be I see a bear, he goes about his business, I go about my business, no problem. An encounter would be we're walking quietly, I'm not making noise. I come around a corner, he comes around a corner. We have a, oh, hi, we freeze, both of us, and then they change their behavior. If they were going to walk on the path and they turn around and go away, that's an encounter. So same with a
Gotcha.
rattlesnake. If a snake rattles at me, that's an encounter. Does it make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So if I change an animal's behavior, that's I try to avoid those. It happens all the time. The scariest thing in the woods for me that I get startled is a wild turkey because I never hear them. I never see them. And then they just explode through the forest. And it's the biggest ruckus you've ever heard of in your life. That gives me a
Makes you
heart
jump,
attack
doesn't it?
every single time. But a deer's gonna, if it has a baby, it's gonna make this little chirping noise.
Yeah.
It doesn't scare me. I know there's a mama with a baby somewhere. Then I see the deer. I'm good. If I hear a branch crack and it's heavy, it's probably a bear. Hey, there's a bear. None of those scare me. But those stinking turkeys, they they get me every I'm like, one day I'm gonna fall off an edge because they just startle me so much. But thankfully they're not on cliffs. So I'm probably safe. Anyway, there you go. So safety, being aware of your surroundings. I don't even know people who do these long through hikes. I get it. They want to listen to a podcast, which are wonderful. But to me, when you're in a woods, listen to nature for many reasons. Not only is that why you're there, but there's so much to hear, so much to see. I've walked with people and I'm like, oh my gosh, did you enjoy the berries back there? They're like, what berries? And I'm like, you're kidding. They're like, no. And then once they're tuned in, they're like, oh my gosh, there's berries everywhere. So when you listen to anything, people do these books on tape and whatever. I just showed my age. Then they, it's fine. They're on the hike for exercise, and that's fine. But if you're doing a through hike, I think about how much someone might have missed because many of the animals that I've seen, it was because I heard a crack or a chirp or a whatever. And people ask me, "How did you see them?" And I'm like, "Because I heard them
Because you were
first.
listening for him
I was
first. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even do podcasts and things when I'm driving because I don't know how to do it. Like it would take data. Yeah, I know you can download and do some things, and that takes a little planning. What's funny is I just started listening to podcasts because of Jason.
Oh,
That's a
yeah,
that's a
good.
big thing for me.
Yeah,
And it's fun because as a solo hiker, I find so this year's been a lot more group hikes than solo hikes.
sounds like it, yes.
And I did that on purpose because I set an intention for the year. And this year, the intention for 2025 was building relationships
Nice.
through hiking. And I started listening to podcasts and I found it very similar to hiking with a group because in one 5 day hike, I can learn more with 5 people than I could learn 5 months on the trail by myself. Everybody's sharing, everyone has different food, everyone has different equipment. Some people do things wrong, some people do things right. But in 5 days with 5 people, which I just did, I'm like, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my gosh, I never knew about this.
I
But
agree. I agree.
right?
Yep. One of my first hikes with the Lone Star Hiking Trail Club, I went with a small group hike with them, and they were some of the people, like, packed up so quickly, and I thought, how was that possible? That took you, like, less than 3 minutes. I don't understand. And then I looked and it's, "Oh, you just stuffed everything in there." I was still, like, folding everything and rolling it up so nice. It's, "Heck no, just shove it in there."
Yes. But you learn. So
You
I
learn.
think maybe help me out, but that's what podcasts are for,
Sure.
is you can learn a great amount of experience in a short amount of time.
Yes. One of
So
my goals, yeah, one of my goals for the podcast is to encourage and motivate women to get outside and enjoy the outdoors and do those trips that they want to do. And by sharing and talking to other people who are doing these experiences, my hope is that it will encourage them to have the confidence to be able to go and do the things that they want to do versus holding themselves back for whatever fears are there.
So I will tell you when I started doing some solo hikes in Las Vegas before I did the Appalachian Trail. And that's
Okay.
I got this little reignite where I'd love to hike again. My fitness was good and it was a great place to hike. Believe it or not, Vegas is an amazing place to hike.
We were talking about that the other day, the Red Rock Canyons.
You can't even imagine the hikes that are in that area. Like it is
Nice.
just Red Rock from Charleston. There are so many places to hike. It's unbelievable. So what I would do because I didn't know the area and I didn't have confidence in my ability to hike, and I wanted to go somewhere that I'd heard of, but I didn't know how to get there. Even with the apps, it was sketchy. I would go with a group, and then the very next day I would go again by myself.
Oh,
If I felt
nice.
it was safe, if I felt it was safe.
Yes.
So I vetted it to see, am I capable of doing this by myself? Do I feel like it's a safe environment? I guess what I'm trying to do right now is remember what it was like when I first, if you're gearing towards people who don't do this, I have to put myself, where was I in 2019? Where was my mind? Where was my head? Because now I'm the person who I'm driving and I see a hike I want to do that I don't even know where it goes. I hop out of my van and I did that recently on a trip where it was amazing. And it was not even that long of a hike, but I laughed because I didn't even bring water because it was only like 4 or 5 miles. And for some people, that's like they're building up to that 5 miles.
Yes.
I was that person in 2019 where 5 miles was like I had snacks, I had rain gear, now I literally go, if it rains, I'm only 2 hours away. But back then, that would probably been 3.5, 4 hours. And I didn't have any confidence in my ability. And what if I got lost? And so I guess what I'm saying is the people that you're reaching, they need the 2019 Kim, but they need to know that just 2 years later, I'm pretty much what I am now. You know what I'm saying? If
You
they just
gain
get out there and do it.
you gain confidence, start small.
Yes.
When I researched a trailhead, originally, when I researched a trailhead, I would go to the trailhead and I would do maybe 20 minutes out and 20 minutes back.
I
And
love
that's
that.
how I started to build my confidence.
Yes.
And then it's okay, now I can show up just about anywhere, look at a trailhead and say, and look at a quick map and say, okay, yeah, let's go do that.
Yes. Yes.
Because I have my gear. I know what my abilities are. I know what 5 miles is like on flat land, and I know what 10 miles is like on very hilly land.
Yes.
And just learning what you're capable of.
Yes.
But I think it takes experience to get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Social media scares me when it's like on a Facebook page where people write, I need an easy hike. What's an easy hike for me to do near Las Vegas? And people ask that all the time. I just told you about the Lone Star Trail. That can be an easy hike if you split it up over 10 days and you have resources and you have people and you have drops and the weather's perfect. And,
Yes.
or you can do it like I did it, where you hopped on it 5 days. It's a flood. It was like literally a flood. I'm walking, I was wet the whole time. So the point is, any hike can be easy, in my opinion. And any hike, the same hike, can be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And it comes
Absolutely.
down to when you go, how do you do it? I think as far as safety, this is what I tell her and I tell everyone else. The mountain is going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be there the next day. Even if you're going on this easy 30-minute hike, if at 15 minutes you get the heebie jeebies, something's not right, you're getting a hot spot, turn around, go back. It'll be there tomorrow.
I agree. I'm so glad you said that. I've seen some very stubborn hikers where the plan was we're going to do XYZ and the conditions aren't right for whatever reason.
Yes.
And then now they're still trying to do XYZ, but they're putting themselves in danger. And
that's when people get hurt.
yeah,
People, again, it's all those things happening at the same time. When you force, to me, it's going against the flow.
yes.
Now, in all of my hikes, and I average about 2,000 miles a year. That's been since 2020, not on purpose. That's what my average has turned out to be. I don't know why, but it's just about 2,000 miles a year.
How do you track that?
The Appalachian Trail was 2,000. Then one year I did, when they're big hikes, like the Arizona Trail, that's 800 miles.
Okay.
Right? And so then when you put all these little hikes together, you're like, oh, this one was 100 and this was 100. It just weirdly comes up to about, and
2,000.
this is cheating because I don't always have my phone with me. But if I do my steps for the year and I just, every 2,000 steps is about a mile,
Yes.
you can get a kind of a, but I do Caminos in Spain. And so those are usually they're usually in kilometers, anywhere from 400 to 600 miles around there. So when you do these big chunks, it just happens that it's 2,000. I don't know. I found that out the other day and I'm like, oh, that's weird because I'm not trying to do 2,000. It just happens.
It just happens.
And I'm not quite sure why I mentioned that, other than the fact that I do a lot of, I know why. I do a lot of hikes, big hikes, little hikes. I just, for the first time ever, quit a hike on the first day.
Oh no, what happened?
I had the most, this was this year. I don't know where we left off, but I did another cruise. I went to Iceland, came back. Then I quickly, a friend invited me to Mexico. So I went there, swam with sharks, came back, and I immediately went to a hike, the Wonderland Trail. That is around Mount Rainier.
Yes.
Phenomenal, gorgeous. It was hard, but it was unbelievable. And I went up there. I had a pickup permit that first day. They gave me a walk up. I did it in 7 days. It takes 7 to 10, but the permit that I got was for 7. So I did it in 7. No problem. Then I immediately went on another hike, which was called the Lost Coast Trail. Again, on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm putting it at 11. It was like the most amazing hike. Okay. So I've had these 2 epic hikes back to back. And I've been going nonstop. I'm going to do the Tahoe Rim Trail.
Okay.
It's not that long. It's like 100 miles. It's a loop. So it's logistically easy. I parked my van somewhere. I found a perfect place to park it. It was a guy, he has a hotel and he's a hiker. So he let me park there for free, right by the trailhead. It couldn't have been any better. Weather was perfect. I had already dropped 2 waters because water was going to be a problem at the time I was going, but there was no snow. First day, Within an hour of the hike, I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I'm like, okay, just give it a, because they say never to quit on a bad day. So I keep walking. Oh my gosh, there were so many bicyclists on this trail.
Really? Okay.
And they were, I told you I like to listen. They come out of nowhere because they're going so fast.
Oh,
Like,
no.
I don't know how to describe it. My world is very slow when I hike. So to have a fast bike and they're just zooming and there was dust and I'm making excuses, but I was just not feeling it. And I'm like, okay. So I hiked a little bit further and I stopped. I set up my tent at 2 p.m. I'm like, I got to regroup. Set up my tent, laid there. It was beautiful. It was comfortable. All of a sudden, I'm like, I'm doing a little research and I'm like, okay, can I get off this trail? So I hiked about 5 more miles and I went to a lake. No cell reception, which I didn't know was going to happen. But I dropped down, so there was no cell reception. I had cell reception in my tent, but I didn't have any down below because I was just going to catch an Uber and just, I'd only gone like 15 miles. I'm like, I'm just going to go back to my van and reset and see if I want to do this anymore. Met some guys who had just showed up at the lake to go fishing. They were only going to be there for 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. They gave me a ride to town. They drove me back to my van.
Nice.
And I'm thinking, okay, like I started that day with the intent of doing 7 to 10 days. I had all the time in the world. And I was just like, I'm not feeling it. It's not, I don't feel I'm supposed to be here. I've never done that. But that would be an example of not forcing it. I don't know that I would have gotten hurt, but I was definitely not in the game. I was not, I really didn't like the bicycles zooming past me. It wasn't what I was looking for. I'd already had two every hike I love, but the last two, the Lost Coast Trail and the Wonderland Trail, they're at the top. Like they were,
Awesome.
it
Yeah.
was so amazing. And it was when I went and just how everything flowed. So I guess I was, it was weird. I was proud of myself for not doing the hike. And I still am because I listened to me. I just wasn't feeling it. But it was a weird concept. I had all this hiking food and I don't know what to say. It was weird to stop in the middle of, or not even the middle, the beginning of it. I didn't even give it a shot.
It's almost like you're not, it could be like a sixth sense or like an inner feeling, or even just that moment. Let's say you're driving down the highway and there's a slowdown on the highway. That slowdown on the highway could prevent you from being in an accident 10 minutes up the road.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes you just have to take it for what it is.
Yes.
And you're still here to talk about it. Who knows what would have happened if you kept on pushing through and it wasn't meant to be.
I understand why people force things because maybe they only get 2 weeks off for the whole year. They're working
Yeah.
and they get 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe they're running out of money. Maybe there's all these constraints. If you can peel most of those away and you can actually hike at your own pace, you can stay as long as you need to, that's safe. Because I believe you can go too slow too. To carry on the Appalachian Trail, if you do a normal pace, you can see a town every 3 to 5 days. If you
Okay.
go the 5 miles a day, then you got to carry a lot more food to get to
Right.
that next town. So
Uh-huh.
there's no cookie cutter. There's no one way, but you there is something is too slow and there's something is too fast. I think you have to find what makes sense to what you can carry for resupply, water, shelter. If you can stay
Your
in those
basics.
right, your
Yeah.
basics, then everything else will fit into that. Give yourself time to, if you see, I know people have been in a hurry before where they saw something cool, like some phenomena, like a dust devil, or maybe some animal doing something, but they had to get to, they set their expectation of where they were going to camp. So they don't have time. They had to put their blinders on to
And
power
just
through.
and just power through.
Right. And the Wonderland Trail was unique in the sense that you have to reserve each campsite.
Okay.
That stressed me out because 15 miles on the Wonderland Trail is not 15 miles in Red Rock. Not the same thing. And my first 15 on the Wonderland Trail was, I think, 5,000 incline and decline in the 15 miles.
Oh,
I was,
wow. Yeah. That's a
I
long
need it.
day.
It's a long day. It should have normally it would take me 2 miles an hour. So let's just say 8 hours. No, I took a nap in the middle of the day, but I started at 5 in the morning and I got there at 7 p.m.
Wow. Yeah.
That's long, but I looked at all the animals and I did my hike. I went, there were side trails that I took. That's just how I hike for me. But that's a long day. And if that was a new, I never rushed. Like taking the nap was me going, all right, I was taking away that stress of, okay, fine. I can hike in the dark if I have to. I don't want to, but that nap reset me. It made that what was about a 15-mile day into a 7 and an 8. So it was two what I call day hikes.
Yeah.
And that's a game I play. I play these games when you're by yourself. Stay safe. Now, some people would think you're taking a nap by the side of the trail. Is that safe? Again, yes.
Yes. I'd say
Yes. I've
absolutely.
woken up with a tick on me and I'm like, that wasn't smart. But I took the tick off of me. Things for me, I believe that you have to weigh out the is it safer for me to take a rest? And if I'm worried about bugs, let's say mosquitoes, then I'll set my tent up because it does when you hike and you live out of your tent, you can set it up in 15 minutes max and tear down in 15.
Absolutely.
It's worth it if you're taking a half an hour nap, if that's the case. And I've done that. I did that on the last hike and I used that as a reset to take away all the distractions and go, okay, am I where I'm supposed to be? Listen to that inner voice, whatever. I think when people are plugged in, they miss that internal dialogue because
Absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
on a different level.
Yeah.
Oh,
And they're getting more input that just clouds the brain. It's giving you more input. Whereas if you take away all those inputs and just let nature do its thing, it really helps to calm the brain and makes you just more focused on
I agree.
what's important.
That's well said. I totally agree with that. Now, I do sing in the woods.
That's
That's
all
a
right.
safety. Believe it or not, it's a safety thing.
The bears will hear you and they'll run away.
So I don't, when I'm a solo hiker, you can be too quiet.
Uh-huh.
And so when I feel like I'm in an area, either an app that I use says, hey, there's bears in the neighborhood, or I see evidence, like on my last hike, it was gorgeous, but you could see where they peeled the bark back. And then you could see, I've never seen it quite this beautiful. It was gorgeous, where you could see their scratching marks.
Uh-huh.
I started singing. Why?
Yes.
Because I know that it was fresh. You could see, you could smell the wood. It was within the
That was
last.
pretty fresh, yeah. And then scat on the trail, that's an indicator too, for sure. Fresh prints.
Yes.
And yes, singing or rattling your cup, whatever it is.
Making so you're just not because I've hiked barefooted before, and that's when I had that bear encounter. Is because
Oh, yeah.
I was so quiet and I wasn't thinking. It was in a neighborhood. It was where my home is in Los Alamos, and I came around a corner, and he came around the corner, and we neither of us hurt each other.
Oh,
We were both
wow.
trail, and it turned out to be a non-threat situation, but we were both startled. Imagine if it had a baby. Then now we stepped into a different zone.
Yes,
So
definitely.
singing is another. We had a list of safety things. The one thing we talked about, you talked about a trailhead. I always take a picture at the trailhead. If there is any information, I don't even read it sometimes. I always take a photo. And it has helped me before because maybe there's some animal problem or something they give you. Sometimes they'll tell you, like, okay, at this tree level, you're not allowed to burn or whatever. Then you have I may not remember everything I saw on that sign, but I can always go back to my photo. So when I'm at the camp, I can go, oh, yeah, they want us to hang our food. Oh, yeah, they want whatever. So you can follow the rules of that specific trail.
That's such great advice. It helps you remember. But then I also think back as also that photo is going to the cloud, and then they'll be able to find your body later if you need it.
You know what? Yes. And that's why I signed the log. I
Yeah.
signed because some trailheads have where you sign in. And then I always pay. It's so funny. People like feel sneaky when they don't pay. I'm like, I don't think they realize that money is allowing them to be safe on that trail. And so I don't understand. So far as safety, I think paying your dues is another, it sounds so weird, but it's another way to contribute to your safety and everybody else's safety. You know,
Agreed. Yes.
trail maintenance is, I know there's a lot of volunteers, but that sign, everything, the map, the information, it all costs the little markers that are on the tree, like on the Lone Star Trail.
Uh-huh.
Everything costs money.
It does.
And so if you can do anything to help, and then I would even go another step further on safety, and that is the leave no trace. And there's two ways that's safe. One is trash. Any type of trash, you're going to be encouraging animals that maybe you don't want to encourage on the actual trail. I don't think people realize that, but let's keep the animals in their space. Don't give them a reason to come into your space. That's
Right.
part of leave no trace. On the Lone Star Trail, I walked, it's so funny. I walked right through the water because it was weird. You could see where people stepped to the right and left and then they would sink.
Uh-huh.
And this was during the daytime because started really early one morning and I accidentally lost the trail. You guys have quicksand, just so you know. Oh my gosh. I stepped and all I could think of is why do people try not to step on the trail? Why do they try to go to the right and left on purpose? Because that's not safe.
Like mess it, yeah, it creates extra trails and then people don't know where the trail is.
You don't know where the trail is. You're not on solid ground. Like when,
Right.
yeah, maybe it's wet, but it's solid. You're more likely going to hurt yourself when you're hopping to the right and the left. I watch people on the Appalachian Trail. In the very beginning, I wore boots and I just walked right down the trail because I had boots on. Everyone else had like these little trail runners and they were trying to stay dry and they were hopping on rocks. And I'm like, somebody's going to get hurt because they're taking this hopping. I can't even describe what I saw, but it was not safe. Where I was just walking straight down the trail, exerting less energy and less likely to slip on a rock because I'm on the path.
Right. Now, so that brings me to what kind of footwear do you wear now? Do you wear boots still, or have you
It
graduated
depends.
to trail runners?
It
So many
depends.
people are wearing trail runners.
I honestly, I have different levels of shoes. I really prefer not with my backpack, but when I'm hiking where I can go barefooted, I go barefooted.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I think you're supposed to touch the earth, but I don't do it with a backpack. It's the pressure is too much on my feet for me.
Sure.
But if it's a day hike, if I can kick those shoes off, oh, they're off. Okay. Let's talk about a day hike. If it's one like in Las Vegas area, they have some where you want to wear boots because they're scree, and you
Uh-huh.
just I wear like what I would call lightweight boots. They're not like what I wore a long time ago doing 14ers that were like Vosk, where they were like they were almost like steel-toed boots. They weren't, but they were like I don't wear those anymore. But I do wear hiking boots like Solomon or something like that. Okay. And they have a little bit of a heel, a little bit of an ankle thing, but I don't actually believe I'm one of those. I believe if you can work your way up to it, you're better off not wearing high top boots. Let your ankles grow and get stronger naturally. That's just me. I
No,
know
absolutely.
everybody's
Yeah.
different. I believe they overhelp you. But there is a time and place, and especially to me, it's when you either have a lot of junk that can fall in like rocks or sand, or you have to go across little water streams and they're waterproof enough that nothing's going to get in. But once if I'm going to get wet, a waterproof boot is the worst boot in the world.
Because it also holds the water.
Exactly. So those I wear very little, but I do sometimes wear them. In Vegas, we do shoes called approach shoes, and it's La Sportiva, and they are really sticky soles. They're like a cross between a normal shoe and rock climbing shoes. And
Oh, interesting.
they have the little edge, and you can do scrambling and where you hikes where you have your hands on the rocks, where you don't typically have poles because you're doing other things and you have a day pack, and usually it's a lot of quick elevation because of the terrain. Approach shoes.
Approach shoes.
Yes,
Oh,
approach shoes. I'd never heard of them until Vegas, and now it's funny because some people I saw a girl on the Camino wearing approach shoes on the Camino, which it wasn't necessary, but she loves them, and so they worked fine for her.
if they're
Like,
comfortable, yeah.
okay, they wear out pretty fast though. They're about the 500-mile thing.
Oh, gotcha.
So same with trail runners. So I like ultras. Some people like Hokas don't work for me, but ultras have different versions. Like they have the Olympus and they have the Long Peak. When I do a Camino, I wear something with a thick sole because, like an Olympus or like a Hoka, it's comparable to the Hoka because I'm doing road walking. And
Uh-huh.
that is so hard on me. I do not like road walking. So I wear shoes that have more cushion.
Makes sense.
When I'm doing a through hike, like the Appalachian Trail, the Arizona Trail, all of those, I wear my ultras. They're lightweight. Pros and cons. I wore my ultras for a llama trek. Oh my gosh. I literally grew an inch within 5 minutes from sand. It went through the shoe. So someone would say, "Well, you should wear a gaiter." Trust me, it was going through my shoe because they were so porous. That sand went straight
It
in.
was going in. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hindsight, I would have worn different shoes on that hike. But
What would you have worn?
for
Something
the
with like
desert
more of a
sand,
boot?
yes,
What's
the
that?
desert sand, I would have worn a boot.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It would have been so easy. And if I didn't have long pants going over my boot, I would have worn gaiters. And
Gotcha.
that would have been so much better.
Yeah.
But I did not.
Well, and
Sometimes
you don't know what you don't know. That's
you
interesting.
just have to suck it up and go,
Yeah.
okay. And so that's what I did because I couldn't stop every 5 minutes with my llama to dump my shoes out. So you
Right.
just deal with it.
Yeah.
You just deal with it. And I think that, so we talk about safety. I think that's the next thing would be about pain management.
Oh, goodness.
This is going to be strange, but I'm going to just tell you what I've learned over the years.
Okay.
For me, I always want to preface this. This is for me, and this is for me in at the age of 50. Maybe the me at the age of 29 would have had a different story. I, I know what happened in college when I tore ligaments in my ankle. It was a bad sprain. They put me on a crutch. They had me elevate my foot, and a month later, my ankle was still swollen and painful, and it was bad. And I was young and vibrant, like I was a college kid. I did the same injury on the Appalachian Trail with a heavy 20-pound backpack, and it was a bad fall. And I hurt my ankle, but I had to still hike for 2 more days to get out.
So what'd you do?
I hiked for two more, I hiked for 3 more days to get out. But what was amazing is on the third day, I was only 2 days away, but it took me 3 days. By the third day, my ankle was fine.
Interesting.
And there's some science behind it. Someone tried to explain it to me with fancy words, but basically what's happening is you can overprotect yourself. And your body puts this little safety mechanism. It will heal, but it will take a long time. But if you have to use it, it will actually heal faster. We're not talking about a broken bone. We're not talking about being impaled by something. I'm not talking, again, I always have to be careful when I give these stories because I don't want to oversimplify it. But in my circumstance, it was better for me to walk on it.
Yeah. In that
In
situation
that situation,
and the mechanism of the injury or the result of the
right.
injury, you were better as you moved on it. Yes.
Some guy, he dislocated his shoulder. He had a partner with him, and I heard him in pain. I didn't know what was going on. He had fallen, he dislocated his shoulder. I showed up. It was an interesting situation to watch. He was in severe pain. They tried to get it back in. I don't think they could. They had people come and actually rescue him. And what was the rescue? He had to walk out. Now, that's not always the case. But we go back to that thing we talked about, self-rescue. There is a time where no doubt he was in pain, but he had to suck it up and get himself out
Right.
of that situation, even though he had
Yeah.
he had the people come. 4 hours later, the resolution was what he could have done 4 hours earlier. Why am I mentioning this? Because I have been in pain where, yes, I decided I had to address a situation like I busted my head open and I had people with me. They bandaged me up. I actually was so hurt that I had adrenaline. So I actually had no pain. That's how bad it was. And so I'm like, I want to get out of here before that pain kicks in. And I had people with me, but I had to hike for 2 hours with a gaping cut in my head.
Mm.
And again, I guess what I'm getting at is sometimes I see people, and I'm not picking on them, but they get a blister, and the world is coming to an end. I can't walk on this. I can't. Yes, you can. Is it going to be fun? No, it's not going to be fun, but it's a blister. Clean it, keep it healthy. I'm not going to tell someone to be careless, but sitting there for 3 days for your blister to heal is not actually the safest thing you can do.
Agreed.
And I've seen some weird blister management in my days. On the Cote de Santiago, have you done that yet?
No, no,
You,
I haven't.
you will one day. They like, because these are people from other countries, they like they always bring a thread and needle with them.
Oh, really?
And they do this thing with the blister and they put a thread in it. And then evidently it doesn't cause it, it doesn't create it. It doesn't create when you get a blister and it fills up again and it goes down, it fills up again.
Right.
Somehow thread thing makes it heal faster.
Huh.
I'm never going to do that. And I'm not going to show you photos. I'll do it privately if you want, but I've had I made a very big mistake on a hike doing the narrows from the top down. And I had the wrong shoes. I did everything wrong. And when I pulled my boots off that night after hiking, not many miles, I think I hiked 8 miles. I was in the water the whole time,
Uh-huh.
except for the first
And
hour.
on the rocks, yeah.
I ripped 4 pieces of skin about this off my feet. And
Wow.
I had another full day of hiking out.
Ouch.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Now, I'll be honest, the cold water felt really nice on it.
Uh-huh.
When I got to the land at the end of the Narrows, I think I took my shoes off and walked barefooted to the van or the bus that picks you up, because that's how, when we talk about pain management, that was my threshold. I couldn't take that pain anymore. Like it was too much. So I'm not saying you got to listen to your body and you got to make some choice. You have to be able to make some choices and decisions on the fly and weigh out, is it better for me to walk barefooted or is it better for me to keep these shoes on knowing how much it hurts? But you know what I'm saying? You're not, I can't give someone an answer on how to handle every situation. You got to be able to see what your situation is and go, okay, here are my choices. Is it better for me to take a helicopter ride out? Or is it better for me to walk out and get to a place where they can pick me up with a buggy? What is my circumstance and what is my situation and how are we going to get me out of here safely without hurting other people? Because I'm sure you heard about that person who just passed.
Which one?
The lady,
Oh, the one in Russia?
oh, was it Russia?
There was a lady in Russia who was, I think she broke her leg at 22,000 feet.
That one.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
People died, a person died trying to help her. And I think what people need to realize, and that is why I don't take risk, is because there are places that I am where I would be putting other people at risk if something happened to me. So when you go hiking, solo or with a group, you have to realize that you're putting everyone in danger if you're being careless.
Right. And that goes for food and hydration. If you're feeling dizzy or
Yeah.
lightheaded,
Yes.
if you need to take a break, you need to take a break.
Yes.
You need, rather than pushing through and not wanting to put other people out, it's better for yourself for safety and it's better for the rest of the people for safety if you take those breaks when you need to. But then
Yes.
I think that also falls on to whoever the group leader is,
Absolutely.
or whoever is setting that pace. That person needs to realize not everybody is at the same fitness level,
Yes.
and you need to take those breaks regularly, whether you feel personally that you need to or not.
Did you find that was probably the benefit of Kilimanjaro was, I don't know where you went, but they are very methodical, slow. They make you take breaks. Some of it's the acclimating to the elevation, but I think
Yes.
some of it is you have a group of 5 to 10 people. Somebody in that group is probably pushing themselves harder than they should. So they slow everyone down.
Yep.
So I agree with what you just said. And that's why I have trouble with a group hike, is because I have a situation I'm trying to work on. And that is, I don't stop when I hike other than my little nap
Uh-huh.
and done for the day. Because when I do that, if I stop for more than 5 minutes for a break, my body thinks I'm done. And it's what I've
Ah,
trained it. So it's not, you can train yourself to, so I've been working on it. trying to do that so I can, and I don't count looking at a bear for 15 to 20 minutes a break.
Yes, it is.
But I'm pumped up.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting there waiting for people and I'm eating and I'm drinking and I'm sitting down, like if I'm watching a bear, I'm on my feet. But if I sit down, my body goes into this weird mode. And I've been working on it because when I started walking with other people, I had to learn how to stop. I know
You
that's
can always stop, but stay standing, and you
and
can observe people just like if they were a bear.
And that's what I do. I sometimes I stand
Yeah.
and I make them nervous because like I don't even stand still. I kind of pace. But I'm walking around and they're like, don't you need a break? And I'm like, for the most part, it doesn't work for me. Now, if it's a hike where it's not strenuous, it doesn't matter. I'm talking when I'm going crazy elevation in a short amount of time.
Gotcha.
You know, when your body is on and it's like just raring to go, man, if it thinks it's got a break, it's going to be 30 minutes. If I can stop for 30 minutes, that's fine. But a 5 minute or that first 5 to 10 minutes after the 5 minutes is just a nightmare for me. Everyone else is fine. They're like recharged. Their body needed that 5 minute break. But I think that's what's important safety wise is you got to know what's good for your body. I actually did something different with groups. And it's so funny because I hike differently with a group. I hang back usually. I'm either right behind the leader or I'm all the way, I'm the sweep. I'm the very last person. What the sweep provides me is that if this group has to take a lot of breaks, I hang back. When I get up to them, they've been sitting for 5 minutes. Hey, Kim, you
Right.
good? I'm good. All right. And it's a certain leader who knows me. And so then I don't get a break. And that's, but I'm also, since I'm hiking the tail, I'm not pushing myself.
Yeah,
So
and that makes perfect sense.
I'm just meandering. So I found my groove, but that's been something I've had to learn is hiking with others. Just recently, I went on a hike where some people had too heavy of packs.
Uh-huh.
One particular person wasn't feeling well. We don't know what was going on with her. I've never done this. This is the first time ever. I offered near the end of the hike to take her pack. So I had my normal pack on.
And then you had another pack in
Hers
front.
on the front, which was
I've
actually
done that one.
I put hers on my back because it was
Yeah.
so heavy,
That's
and I put mine on
that's
the front.
that's probably something you picked up from Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro and some international travelers, that's what they do. They have a big pack on the front back and then a little one on the front.
Yes.
But I had never done it.
Gotcha.
It was actually really cool because it's very balanced. This was just a few weeks ago. I felt really strong. I felt like I helped her. Like she thanked me at the end saying, I needed that most when you took it from me. I was very
Right.
proud of her. Safety wise, we're a group. I was proud of her for not pushing through. Like it was funny because she was apologizing because she said she felt weak by letting us help her. And I jumped in immediately and I said, no, you showed strength because you let us help you. And if that's the message for today, I want that to be the message for today. Listen, you already said it earlier. Listen to your body, find your pace, but communicate. She could have tried to power through it. Her dad was on the hike. She could have tried to power through it. And we could have probably ended the hike that day
Right.
because,
Yeah. Or she could have fallen
oh,
and
yeah.
had a worse injury.
Yeah.
Right?
So I was very proud of her for
Good.
that.
Yeah.
And then I was also proud that I was able to carry 2 packs because I'm one of those, I go, my pack can't weigh more than 20 pounds. It's 20 pounds, 20 pounds. And I've had up to 30 and I've had as low as 15 for a
Nice.
3-day hike.
Yeah.
But 20 is my sweet spot. But to be able to, and I only carried it for a little bit, but to be able to carry 2 packs, it comes down to that safety thing again. What if I needed to help carry someone?
Yeah.
So the world is changing, but I did a hike called the Allegheny Trail in West Virginia where I didn't quite understand what this meant, but it has a blackout zone or something like that. There's some weird satellite thing going out there, and there's like a huge, we're talking like 4 days, no internet,
Oh, wow.
nothing.
Huh.
And when you come to a town, the only thing you can have is this, even the town didn't have Wi Fi. They had hardwired. It was the craziest thing. And I didn't understand the implications of that as a solo female hiker. I felt I went on a trail. I did a thing called a FKT, a fastest known time for the
Uh-huh.
Allegheny Trail.
Yeah,
And I wanted it to be unsupported. So I carried everything I needed.
sure.
What I didn't realize was, first off, I thought it'd be like the Appalachian Trail where you see people all the time. I saw no one. I saw two,
Really?
and they were getting off the trail. In the towns, I saw people. So there were towns along the way for the 340 miles, whatever it was. But being a solo hiker, not seeing any hikers, because remember, I told you, I don't mind seeing a hiker. I'll say, hey, and then they remember me. There was no one. I mean,
There
I
was
had
no one there.
no one.
And no
That was
internet, no Wi-Fi in the towns.
that was concerning.
Yeah,
I truly questioned my choices because I didn't think that I felt like I was taking risk. Because if I did fall, and my pack was really heavy to begin with, so I was more likely to fall, which I did the second day. And I remember going, okay, like my shoulders hurt because I was pushing my body's a limit and I had no people, none.
right. Yeah.
So and don't get me wrong, there was towns and there were highways and there were places to reconnect, but being off the grid for 4 days, that was that's a long time. If you got hurt, and it could be a simple injury, but you can't move and there's no one on the trail. And this was a trail where I should have seen people coming towards me. Like,
Why do you think there was nobody on the trail? Was it time of year?
I think it's a relatively new trail. Time, I don't know. It's gorgeous. I went in October. That's when the trees change in West Virginia. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's a beautiful, if you want to go for solo hike and be solo, it's great. But I think people need to understand when they say they want to go solo hiking, typically a solo hiker is never alone.
Gotcha. Yes.
And that's part of your safety. That's a good
Right.
thing.
Yes, there's
No?
usually someone else at another primitive camp
Yes.
or someone else on the trail or at trailheads or towns or whatever.
Yes.
There's usually other people around. Yes.
So I think people need to realize, but in this case, I'm like, what have you done? Like, you are solo hiking and there's no one around. And that really shook me a little bit. And it wasn't the whole hike again, because I was there, it took me 14 days. But 4 days out of 14 days is a long time in a hike, to have no communication. And I remember I was like,
Yes.
okay, you cannot get hurt here. And there's leaves and there's roots and there's obviously bears and snakes and all these things that could go sideways if you aren't paying attention. And then I was hiking in the dark, which adds risk, in my opinion, because finding a trail in the dark is a lot harder and you could miss something. It was not the smartest hike I've ever done because I didn't take into some of the risk factors. And that was a wake up call. When that thing was over, I'm like, okay, you survived that, but that's because things went your way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You didn't get injured. You knew your body. You were out there. You did it, but it sounds like you felt like
I was pushing the
a
envelope.
little unnerved. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a wake up call for me because I think like anything, driving, whatever you do, you get to that point where you're a little bit too comfortable. And so I probably went from being brand new, super alert, maybe overprotective to, hey, I'm taking all these things that I've learned and I'm learning what works for me, to finding my groove, to you're cocky, too comfortable.
Pushed it a little too far.
Yep, maybe a little too, yeah, just too, yeah, cocky. And so now I'm in the stage of, okay, I'm feeling my mortality and I'm choosing where I want to spend my time. And that's why the Wonderland Trail is amazing. The Tahoe Rim Trail, did I want to take 10 days out of my life to be on a trail that wasn't vibing with it at that point?
Yeah.
I think next time, if I knew that there would be so many bicycles, I would have done it maybe when the bicycles aren't out as much. And it's not the whole trail. I didn't know that at the time. It was the section I was in and some other sections. But I would maybe I guess the bikes aren't allowed to be on an even day or an odd day, or I don't know what the rules are. That's where you need to do research. If I had done research, I would have known I was going to be slammed by bikes the whole day. And I didn't even know that I had the right of way. I stepped off the trail for them and they were all happy about it. Someone's like, yeah, because you get the right of way. I'm like, but they're on a bike. If I'm going uphill or downhill on a bike, give me the momentum. Anyway, I wasn't prepared. I didn't do the research and I did not feel safe.
I've been on trails where bikes have been on the trail, and I prefer and lots of bikes. I don't mind one or two bikes passing once in a while, but when you get hordes of bikes passing you, it doesn't make it for a pleasant hike. And I can't listen to the birds. And
Right.
the butterflies aren't there because there's bikes zooming past. So it's
Yeah.
just for me, it's just not an enjoyable place to be.
And so that was an interesting experience for me.
All right, friends, we're going to take a pause from our conversation with Kim right here. I know you're loving this as much as I am, and there's so much more to come. In the next part, Kim is going to talk about the PCT, hiking through the burn scar, the Triple Crown, and hiking part of the John Muir Trail. So be sure to hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss part 2 of this incredible journey with Kim. Until then, keep exploring, keep moving, and remember, the trail always has more to teach us.